Wei Ping'an crossed the realm of cultivating immortals, and even in his middle age, he remained ordinary and achieved nothing, leaving the immortal path elusive. I have no choice but to marry and prepare to spread my branches and leaves. But unexpectedly, as soon as he got married, his golden finger awakened. You interact with the Taoist couple and gain mana +1, you compete with Taoist priests and obtain the Gu Yuan Dan Fang. Your relationship with the Taoist couple has heated up, and you have obtained that Spirit Root Qualification 5, as the attributes continue to stack, you gradually discover that the once unattainable Changsheng is actually right in front of you. Chapter 01. Marriage. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Dayu Kingdom, Kangdianshan Fong City, Edge Shantytown. The strong wind howled and rolled open the tattered wooden windows. In the cramped wooden house, a middle-aged man with dark skin struggled to get up. With just a simple gesture, Wei Ping'an felt a piercing pain. His face instantly turned pale, and a cold sweat as big as beans couldn't stop seeping out from his graying temples. Although my hands are not useless, it may be extremely difficult to continue refining pills. Years of savings, flowing eastward, can be said to be at the end of the road, and it's time to accept one's fate. Wei Ping'an coughed and applied medicine to the injured area of his right hand to suppress the pain. After feeling better, he stood up and closed the open window again, his cloudy eyes filled with tragedy. He is a red-rooted traveler who has been in this world for nearly 40 years. In the first 20 years of his life, he was the son of a powerful minister of the Great Yu dynasty, enjoying endless glory and wealth, engaging in cockfighting and horseback fights, admiring flowers and scenery, and indulging in a dandy style. Until the year when the new emperor ascended to the throne at the age of 20.1, his family was raided and swept away, and he himself was also a proud son of heaven, beaten to dust and mud, and sent to be a slave to the frontier forever. I thought this life would come to an end, but I didn't expect to end up in a cultivator battle during my deployment. Unexpectedly, he escaped his life because of this, and after many twists and turns, he arrived at Xuanhuan Mountain and embarked on the path of cultivation. Unfortunately, his innate talent in this life was simply ordinary, and he missed the best time for cultivation, resulting in several years of wasted time. His cultivation was always hovering on the level of refining qi. Fortunately, he coincidentally entered an alchemy workshop in Fangshe to work, and later showed some talent for controlling fire and refining alchemy, learning several methods for refining zero-level pills. As a result, his living conditions have greatly improved, and his daily meals have changed from ordinary brown rice to low-level spiritual rice worth 10 pounds of a spiritual stone. Not only that, but you can also earn 5 lower-grade spirit stones per month, and over the years, you have accumulated a sum of spirit stones. He has already started planning to move out of the shantytown courtyard and live in a better and safer neighborhood. But to my surprise, half a month ago, in order to help the store rush to produce a batch of gas-absorbing pills, he worked overtime, and in the end, something went wrong. The alchemy furnace was overloaded and exploded. The explosive power was not small. Although he saved his life, the spiritual meridian on his right hand was injured. When the spiritual meridian is damaged, the spiritual power cannot function smoothly. When refining pills and controlling fire, it is possible that the lack of fire due to the poor operation of spiritual power may prevent the ability to perform alchemy work. So he was directly kicked out of the alchemy shop, and that's not all, and the spirit stones he had accumulated over the years were also used as compensation. After years of hard work, I thought I could turn things around, but suddenly I fell to the bottom. Thinking of this, Wei Ping'an's eyes couldn't help but moisten. You loser, why don't you hurry up and leave for me? If it delays my mother's big deal, I'll see you. Don't even think about it, you are a mortal without spiritual roots. If someone buys you, it's better to be sold to Yanchun Tower. I'm not afraid to tell you that if you go to such a place, you wouldn't be able to live long as an ordinary person. In the evening, there was a commotion and crying outside the door. Immediately after, there was a knocking sound on the door, and a somewhat familiar female voice came. "Is Wei Daoyu at home? Don't open the door quickly, I'll bring you the person you want." The sound fell, and Wei Ping'an's mind became lively. Since being kicked out of the alchemy shop, Wei Ping'an saw that the injury on his hand could not be recovered. Feeling disheartened and lazy, he decided to live an ordinary life, talk about a marriage, and place his hope of refining qi and cultivating immortality on the next generation. So 2 days ago, he found a famous matchmaker in the shantytown to arrange this for him. "No, I didn't expect the other party to bring someone to their door today. Is it Wang Daoyu here? Come in, come in." Thinking of this, Wei Ping'an quickly opened the door and welcomed the person outside. The leader was a middle-aged nun with the appearance of a Taoist nun, and it was the matchmaker Wang. Behind her was a somewhat reserved young woman. The woman's eyes were filled with tears, and combined with the words she had just heard, she was afraid that there might be some issues with her background. However, in the world of cultivating immortals, the law of the jungle has long been upheld by Wei Ping'an. "He, Wei Daoyu, I have brought you people." Her name is Lin Qian, she is 18 years old, and she used to come from a mortal family. Unfortunately, her hometown was plagued by demons, and her family died in the hands of demons. She was the only one who managed to escape to the local market. Now, she is alone and wants to find a way to rely on. As soon as matchmaker Wang entered the door, she pulled the girl up to her and said with a look of gratitude. "This woman's appearance is only in the upper middle." Looking at her 28-year-old age, her green face carries a hint of melancholy that makes her want to cry. However, her curvaceous chest and slender waist highlight a different charm. Wei Ping'an became more and more satisfied as he saw it. He believed that the woman's family had died in the hands of demons. But how it came to the neighborhood market remains to be discussed. However, this Wang matchmaker is quite famous in the local market and is a skilled person. She has never had any problems in acting as a matchmaker for others. Wei Ping'an naturally wouldn't delve into the origin of this woman. Immediately asked, "Wang Daoyu, does Miss Lin have spiritual roots?" Combining with people with spiritual roots increases the probability of offspring having spiritual roots several times compared to combining with ordinary people without spiritual roots. And the possibility of giving birth to high-level spiritual root qualifications is also much greater. Therefore, the most important thing for a monk to get married is not their appearance and physique, but their spiritual roots. Wang matchmaker immediately shook her head and said, "Of course there is no spiritual root. Women with spiritual roots are not at this price. Besides, even though Lin Qian doesn't have spiritual roots, her buttocks are curled up. It looks like she's easy to have children, and she can definitely give birth to a few chubby kids for her fellow Taoist." At the same time, matchmaker Wang glared fiercely at the girl next to her. The girl with tears in her eyes immediately spoke up, "Master, please leave me behind. I am very obedient." The voice trembled, crispy and sticky, and the erect chest trembled with each movement, especially shaking its eyes. Faced with such a scene, Wei Ping'an admitted that he had ulterior motives. Besides, with his current appearance, he cannot afford to marry those women with spiritual roots. So he nodded and said, "Then stay." At the same time, he took out 2 inferior spirit stones from his pocket and handed them to matchmaker Wang. After a few polite words to the other party, I saw her off. As for what kind of wedding banquet, such as thanking the media, naturally there is no such thing. There is not much emphasis on cultivation in the realm of immortality, and it all falls into this field. Of course, it's about saving as much as possible. After Wang matchmaker left, only Wei Ping'an and Lin Qian remained in the room. Thinking that this is my first true wife after coming to this world. Besides, it was only after he spent all his last savings that he married back. Wei Ping'an naturally did not have the idea of slowly cultivating emotions. He reached out and took Lin Qian's hand, saying, "From now on, we are husband and wife. I think it's not early now, so why don't we take a break? Please, husband, take pity on me. Although I didn't expect it to be so soon, the girl seemed to have accepted the impending fate, lowered her head lightly, and her voice became numb, as if she had already accepted her fate. Immediately, Wei Ping'an picked up Lin Qian and blew out the candle. That night, the sound of rain outside rose and fell, and the strong wind blew against the wooden windows, making a clicking sound. That night, the house was pierced with blood, and the warblers sang softly. As the saying goes, the flower path has never been swept by a guest before. Tonight, I finally met my husband. The spring night is short and bitter, and the day rises high. The next day, the sky is already bright. Wei Ping'an woke up from the pain in his arm. He was so excited last night that he was implicated in the injured area again. As Wei Ping'an was preparing to apply medicine to his arm, a mechanical reminder sounded in his mind. Ding, and Lin Qian's yin and yang complement each other drops, cultivation +1, at the same time, in Wei Ping'an's sight, a transparent bubble fell from Lin Qian lying in bed, and a few rolls rolled up to him. Wei Ping'an instinctively reached out to hold it, and a warm feeling suddenly emanated from his fingertips and merged into his body. Chapter 02. Danfang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cultivation +1. Has my cultivation improved? As the warm current slowly dissipated in his body, Wei Ping'an seemed to feel a miraculous increase in his spiritual power, which was probably the result of his diligent cultivation for 10 days. This is simply 10 times the cultivation speed, and it doesn't require him to meditate hard. It's like lying down and improving one's cultivation level. And as his cultivation improved, Wei Ping'an felt like he had taken a tonic. Not only did the pain in his right hand alleviate a bit, but his previously sickly state miraculously dissipated a bit. The originally weak body even feels stronger. Is this my golden finger that has been delayed for over 40 years? Wei Ping'an rubbed his eyes, and before he could be happy, he felt the light in front of him distort. The next moment, a pale purple screen appeared. Name: Wei Ping'an, Spirit Root. Wood Golden Fire, Lower Grade 3 Spirit Roots, Realm. Practice Qi 3 Layers, 168/1000, Practice. Qingmu Changsheng Gong, Skill. Alchemy. Level 0, 185/500, Magic. None, Current Taoist Couple. One person, Wei Ping'an was stunned and lost in thought. This golden finger could directly improve his cultivation. If he had come several decades earlier, he wouldn't have wasted so many years. He might have been able to practice qi and build a foundation, and even turn gold and liquid into pills, achieving the myth of cultivating immortals. Thinking back to his experiences over the years, Wei Ping'an suddenly felt melancholy in his heart. Fortunately, he quickly regained his senses. I was already desperate and resigned, but now I have regained some hope in my heart. At the same time, the gaze towards Lin Qian became fiery again, and before the other person could speak, he pounced again. Of course, it's not about being addicted to women, but to verify the function of the golden finger. What if all of this is just his illusion? Immediately, there was another conquering harmony of yin and yang. It took a long time before the clouds and rain gradually subsided. And Lin Qian, who was by Wei Ping'an's side, had fallen into a heavy and unbearable sleep. At the same time, new prompts appear. You and Lin Qian harmonize yin and yang, and the other party drops. The method of refining Gu Yuan Dan. Another light ball appeared, but this time it was slightly brighter than the previous one. This time, what fell was actually the method of refining pills. It seems that every time something fell, it may not be the same. Wei Ping'an lightly touched the light ball, and indeed, another warm current emerged from his body. At the same time, in his mind, memories of refining the Gu Yuan Dan appeared, and these memories were as if he had truly studied and practiced diligently. However, this time, there was almost no improvement in his body, or it was too weak for him to sense with his current level of divine consciousness. Even so, at this moment, he felt that his injured area didn't feel much pain even without applying medicine. And this time, he also roughly understood the function of this golden finger. The function is very simple, that is, when he is practicing with a Taoist couple, the other party can drop some attribute light balls. And he is able to enhance his specific abilities through the corresponding attribute of light balls. Of course, the most important thing is to obtain the refining method of the Gu Yuan Dan this time. This is something that is difficult for 1,000 to buy. After all, among the more than 10 basic pills at 0 level, Gu Yuan Dan has always been in high demand, not only selling well, but also selling at a high price, even comparable to some first-level pills. The refining method of Gu Yuan Dan was obtained by obtaining attribute light balls, which directly enabled Wei Ping'an to master this pill to a perfect state, coupled with the specialized alchemy techniques he mastered. He felt that even if the injury on his right hand was not healed yet, he should still be able to refine this Gu Yuan Dan, but the number of completed pills would be less. In this way, as long as he can refine it into a solid element pill, his current predicament can be immediately improved. Otherwise, if we just got married, we're afraid that in a few days, the couple will have to go hungry. The effect of this golden finger is really strong. The first double cultivation improved his cultivation, and his body recovered a bit. The second one solved his biggest problem at present. Thinking of this, Wei Ping'an even wished to come back for the third time on the spot. However, seeing Lin Qian still sleeping, Wei Ping'an did not continue. He was just an ordinary person, how could he bear the cultivation of immortals? Just don't rush for this day and night. Thinking of this, Wei Ping'an immediately arrived at the alchemy room, and the top priority was to experiment whether he could successfully refine it. This was an important way for him to make a living in the future. In the alchemy room, Wei Ping'an sat in front of the workbench, not in a hurry to start. But instead, he first recalls the various key points of the Gu Yuan Dan in his mind, which is a habit he has developed over the years. Alchemy may seem simple, but there can be no mistakes in the ratio of various medicinal herbs, the size of the heat, and the mastery of time. Therefore, even if he is proficient in refining pills, he will recall the key points of refining before starting, try to be fully prepared, and reduce the losses caused by careless failures. This Gu Yuan Dan truly deserves to be the top grade among zero-level pills. The medicinal material ratio is so exquisite that it produces wonderful changes when most common medicinal materials are used by rulers and ministers. Moreover, this type of pill is accompanied by specialized alchemy techniques. No wonder it is almost impossible to see this level of pill formula for sale in the local market, all of which are exclusive to major alchemists. However, upon a slight recollection, various refining points of the Gu Yuan Dan suddenly came to Wei Ping's mind, as if they had been engraved in his mind and formed an instinct. In just a few minutes, he had already memorized all the key points of refining the Gu Yuan Dan, and of course, more importantly, his memory of the matching alchemy techniques. After all, this complementary alchemy technique is a guarantee for him to be able to refine a solid element pill in the event of injury to his right hand. Okay, give it a try first. Quickly, Wei Ping'an fully memorized various key points and alchemy techniques. He has all the necessary medicinal herbs here. First, check the alchemy furnace, then sort out the herbs needed and place them in order, and start the first refining. Condensing the heart, calm down. For the first time making a more advanced pill like Gu Yuan Dan, Wei Ping'an obediently followed the previous step by step. Perhaps due to psychological effects, Wei Ping'an, who was well prepared, felt a peaceful inner world. Right now. He took a deep breath, lit the stove first, and when the temperature of the stove rose to a certain extent, he began to pour the prepared medicinal materials into the pot. Although it was the first time refining the Gu Yuan Dan, I couldn't help feeling a bit nervous. However, after starting, it seemed like I had already drawn it 1,000 times. Muscle memory drives the spiritual power in my body to control the heat. As time passed by, the spiritual power in Wei Ping'an's body was also constantly being consumed. But there was no spiritual disorder due to the injury on the right hand, and the output of spiritual power remained stable. Half an hour later, a unique fragrance permeated from the alchemy furnace. It's about to be refined. Seeing this, Wei Ping'an raised his eyebrows slightly and couldn't help but feel a sense of joy in his heart. Knowing that the time has come, immediately unleash your spiritual power and begin the final refining work. Collect pills. Alchemy is about adjusting the heat, emphasizing the preparation of medicinal herbs and techniques, and the final collection of pills is equally important. Because this step directly relates to the number of completed pills. Wei Ping'an took a slight sip and began to collect the elixir by switching the seal in his hand. The next moment. Puff. With a single sound the alchemy furnace was opened, and a handful of pale smoke surged upwards, accompanied by a few round pills that shot out. Wei Ping'an was so shocked that he couldn't help but jump back suddenly, but then he reacted. This is not about exploding the furnace, but about practicing the pill, because when he just opened the furnace, his mood was excited, and his spiritual power appeared in a brief interruption. The pressure inside rushed the pill out. After taking a puff of relief, Wei Ping'an quickly checked the alchemy furnace and took out the remaining pills inside and put them into a specially made porcelain bottle. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a total of 18 pills. If I remember correctly, the 5 Gu Yuan pill can sell 1 lower-grade spirit stone, and these 17 pills cost about 3.5 lower-grade spirit stones. Deducting the cost of medicinal herbs, 1 lower-grade spirit stone can earn 2.5 lower-grade spirit stones. With my current cultivation level, I can refine 1 furnace a day and earn 4.5 yuan each time. How much spirit stone can I earn in that year? Grasping tightly onto the porcelain vase in his hand, calculating the number of spiritual stones in his mind, Wei Ping'an's face turned red and his breathing was rapid. This is simply a huge profit. He earns much more spiritual stones than when he worked in an alchemy shop. At most 3 days now, you can earn a month's income from that time. Indeed, without the bloodsucking of capitalists, the laboring masses have earned a lot of money. Chapter 03. Difficulties in Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Husband, it's time to eat. As the afternoon approached, Lin Qian appeared at the door of the alchemy room, holding a basin of water and a towel in her hand. After 2 trials and tribulations, Lin Qian, who still had lingering traces on her face, seemed to have already taken on her current role. Indeed, women in this world have a traditional temperament, and once the facts are confirmed, they naturally respect their husbands. The shy and caring appearance at this moment is even more heart-stirring. However, as an ordinary person, the fatigue on their face could not be concealed. This is the Gu Yuan Dan. You can take it and eat it. It can strengthen your body and keep you healthy without illness or injury. People feel refreshed during happy events, let alone Lin Qian, who is their own woman. Seeing the other party working so hard and still cooking for them, Wei Ping'an immediately felt heartbroken. Casually, he handed Lin Qian the freshly refined Gu Yuan Dan. Lin Qian's eyes lit up when she heard this. Although she didn't have a spiritual root and was just a mortal, she still knew a lot about some basic knowledge of the cultivation world, so she also knew the value of the Gu Yuan Dan. This bottle of Gu Yuan Dan is worth at least several lower-grade spirit stones. To some extent, it is even more valuable than her. Unexpectedly, this husband gave her a bottle. And she is also very clear about her current position, which is that she is a wife, but in reality, ordinary people are just a kind of property for cultivators. When you're happy, it's easy to come. If you're not happy, who knows what will happen? Thinking of this, her eyes darkened and she quickly refused. Thank you, husband. I don't need this pill. Take it, you're my wife, mine isn't yours yet. Besides, if you don't make up for it properly, how can you resist it when we both practice in the future? Wei Ping'an arrogantly placed the porcelain bottle in the opponent's hand, which he could not refuse. Then he washed his hands, took a towel to wipe his hands, and went straight to eat. Lin Qian, who remained in place, looked at Wei Ping'an's back and suddenly felt mixed emotions. The dinner was very simple, with 2 bowls of slightly yellowed brown rice and a plate of stir-fried vegetables. Although the ingredients are ordinary, the aroma of the food is very strong, clearly much better than what Wei Ping'an cooked himself. Sure enough, there needs to be a woman in this family, and the feeling of living here is different. This meal Wei Ping'an had was surprisingly comfortable and pleasant. After eating, Wei Ping'an directly instructed Lin Qian to take the pill, and then used spiritual power to help her dissolve and digest the medicine. With the gentle touch of Wei Ping'an's palm, the mellow and spiritual power cultivated from Aoki Changsheng Gong slowly entered along Lin Qian's tender skin and flowed along her tendons and veins. At this moment, Lin Qian only felt a comfortable sensation coming from the place where the other person's palm touched. Her face couldn't help blushing, and she couldn't help but make a moan. "How about it? If you're not feeling well, let me know quickly." Wei Ping'an couldn't help but ask, seeing Lin Qian's changes, whether it was the first person who helped her refine her medicinal power like this. "No. I'm fine, I'm fine." Lin Qian's voice almost melted, and the spiritual power in her body was too mischievous, specifically drilling into her soft flesh. Quickly, Wei Ping'an helped Lin Qian complete the absorption of the medicine. As expected, the Gu Yuan Dan is truly a high-quality pill among low-grade pills. It is one of the essential pills for low-level cultivators to practice qi, strengthen the foundation, cultivate vitality, and regulate the body. Just one, it made Lin Qian's pale and haggard face turn healthy and rosy. "Well, the absorption is good. We'll continue tomorrow." After finishing everything, Wei Ping'an checked Lin Qian's body again and found no problems before preparing to leave. But at this moment, he felt a pair of small hands holding onto him, and then his delicate body leaned forward. "Husband! Don't leave." This night was naturally another restless one. Suilin Xuanhuan Zia Hongla, with lush grass and a dreamy soul, sings softly. Time is like a flowing stream, thoughts are leisurely, 100 flower islands, every sentence is full of strong emotions. After tasting the sweetness brought by the golden finger, Wei Ping'an set aside a certain amount of time during the day to make lightness talismans for the next 10 days. The rest of the time was spent helping Lin Qian refine and absorb the power of the pill, and then we practiced together. Of course, we only maintained a frequency of twice a day, which would make it difficult for ordinary people's physical constitution to bear. And these days, practicing with Lin Qian every day has gradually made them closer. The relationship has also become much more harmonious from the initial stiffness, and it is evident that Lin Qian has gradually developed feelings for him. Besides their relationship becoming more intimate, Wei Ping'an's gains these days are still enormous. He gained a total of 12 mana attribute balls and increased his cultivation progress by 21 points. The rest are attribute balls related to alchemy, which have added him over 100 alchemy experiences and 2 new alchemy formulas. Now his attributes have improved significantly compared to when he first obtained the golden finger. The current realm has changed from the original 3 levels of qi cultivation, 168/1000, to the 3 levels of qi cultivation, 189/1000. The skill alchemy has also changed from level 0, 185/500, to the current, 328/500. I didn't expect that this reckless person's cultivation has improved a lot. This is really... I dare not let others know. Wei Ping'an glanced at his attributes and realized that he had made even faster progress than when he had been practicing alone. Moreover, these days he has not practiced at all. After all, the reason why other cultivators rarely get married is mainly due to gender issues, which consume energy and hinder cultivation. For cultivators who aspire to build a foundation, it can be said to be harmful but not beneficial. If this spreads, he is afraid that he will be immediately stripped of his skin and soul, so he must endure it first. And, with this golden finger relationship, there will definitely be many marriages in the future. As the saying goes, marry a wife and marry a virtuous person. Honesty and obedience are the basic conditions. In the blink of an eye, Wei Ping'an unconsciously thought of getting married again in the future. After all, a wife can bring him so much improvement. If we marry another one, wouldn't it be double the happiness and double the harvest? He is already in his 40s this year, and the maximum age for building a foundation is actually not many years away. Even though the current cultivation speed has increased by 10 times, the foundation is too poor, and in fact, the cultivation speed still cannot catch up with those cultivation geniuses. It is still somewhat difficult to practice until the completion of qi cultivation before the end of one's lifespan. Moreover, with his qualifications, he does not believe that he can successfully build a foundation in one go. At that time, it is inevitable that we will need to build a foundation, and even various natural materials and treasures to assist, which is another huge project. However, Wei Ping'an today is not desperate, but full of confidence in the future. In the blink of an eye, a few more days passed, during which the two were like glue, never leaving the door. "Husband, we're running out of rice at home," Lin Qian said crudely after breakfast. Many days without going out, the two of them engage in physical exercise all day long, and naturally consume food quickly. "Well, I went to the local market today and happened to sell the pills that have been refined these days. Be careful at home and don't open the door. If it's not right, run away through the tunnel in the alchemy room. The competition in the world of cultivation is cruel, deceitful, and ruthless. There are many who are at odds with life and death in a word of disagreement. He lives in a shantytown on the edge of the neighborhood, which is a place where he can't survive, and the environment is naturally even worse. Lin Qianfan, alone at home, naturally needs to explain a few more things just in case. Chapter 04. Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yo, isn't this Master Wei Dan? It's been a while since we last met. I've really married my wife and forgotten about my good looks. These days are really worrying me. As soon as I walked out of the room, I heard a coquettishly smiling female voice. Wei Ping'an followed the sound and saw a young nun standing at the entrance of the east wing of the courtyard, dressed in a green long dress and slightly pink. Even wearing a slightly loose skirt, the other person's figure is particularly prominent. The exposed forearms are slender and plump, with skin as smooth as silk, emitting a faint glow. The bare ankles are round and thought-provoking. The other person had a hazy look in their eyes as if they hadn't woken up yet, holding a urinal in their hand and walking back, probably just getting up. Zhang Daoyu jokingly said, "I'm empty-handed now, with no spiritual stones on my body." Wei Ping'an spread out his hands, looking helpless. This woman surnamed Zhang is a registered female cultivator from Yanqun Tower, specializing in seductive techniques and captivating the soul. Although he had awakened the system now, he still couldn't avoid such a nun and quickly said goodbye and left. After leaving the courtyard and turning east, Wei Ping'an walked calmly on the bluestone road leading to the downtown area of the neighborhood. On both sides of the road are some low and scattered self-built houses arranged in rows. Wooden houses occupy the majority, and household waste is also everywhere, giving a completely ordinary rural appearance. There is no sign of cultivating immortality at all. If ordinary people who admire the immortal path see this scene, they cannot help but collapse their faith. Not long after, the flow of people on the road gradually increased. Most of them are casual cultivators who, like Wei Ping'an, seem to be struggling at first glance. Of course, there are also groups of cultivators who emit a fierce aura. However, there was very little communication among the crowd, and most of them were cautious in distancing themselves from others and walking silently. Not long after, the speed of the crowd slowed down, and a tall archway appeared directly in front of the road. Sanyan Mountain Market has arrived. Honestly, queue up, no one is allowed to cut in line. Once discovered, severe punishment will be imposed. Amidst the warning from the city guards, Wei Ping'an stood in line as usual, waiting to enter the city. At this moment, there was a commotion in the crowd, and several rays of light appeared in the direction of the rising sun on the horizon. Before long, 3 blue-clad cultivators, who were wielding leaf-shaped magical tools, roared and flew over the heads of many scattered cultivators, ignoring the guards of the neighborhood and flying into the neighborhood. "Pooh, don't cut in line. They flew directly over your head without you making any noise." Sure enough, even in the cultivation world, there are still people who bully the weak and fear the hard. When Wei Ping'an passed by the gate of the fengshe, he secretly despised 2 fengshe guards. Of course, on the surface, he did not show any abnormality, because the cultivation of these 2 guards was also 2 layers higher than him, and they were mid-level cultivators who truly practiced qi for 5 layers. Whenever I meet him, he always calls out to the other person, "Senior." At the same time, Wei Ping'an was envious of the 3 cultivators who had just passed by. These were the sect cultivators, who looked not as old as him but were able to control flying magic tools, indicating that their cultivation had at least reached the high level of qi cultivation. However, now that he has awakened his golden finger, one day he will also be able to obtain all of this. After entering the neighborhood market with the flow of people, a lively atmosphere of the market immediately rushed towards us. On the scattered repair square in a corner of the square, stalls are adjacent to each other, and cultivators are shouting and selling. Lingmi, the top quality Shanyang Shanshui Tian Lingmi, weighing 12 pounds per piece of inferior lingshi, not sold separately. Iron armored beast meat, 2 pounds of 1 or 2 gold, 3 pounds of 2 or 2 gold, and 5 pounds of 3 or 2 gold. Most of the stalls set up in the local market area sell some food, and as for spiritual pills and talismans, although they are not uncommon, most of them only sell some low-grade goods. Among the scattered cultivators, there are still a few who are proficient in this art. Even if a few talents occasionally appear, they only join the shops in the neighborhood, and there are very few who make a living outside. Wei Ping'an naturally had no intention of setting up a stall to sell pills, because setting up a stall to sell pills did not actually earn much more spiritual stones than selling them to fengshe Danyao Gu. And it also takes a lot of time. Of course, one thing is that selling less doesn't earn you spiritual stones, and selling more can easily lead to accidents. After all, setting up a stall to sell pills is a way to show off, and it is inevitable that someone will be targeted by them. A pill master like him who is not good at fighting will suffer in the future. So, for safety reasons, we still need to be cautious. The pills are sold directly to the pill shops in the local market, which saves time and effort. It's nothing more than making less money, while also being safer. Besides, with his current level of refining Gu Yuan Dan, the number of completed pills exceeds that of ordinary alchemists, and he actually earns quite a bit. Soon, Wei Ping'an arrived at the largest Dan medicine pavilion in the neighborhood, the Danding Pavilion. As for the pill pharmacy where he used to work, Wei Ping'an naturally didn't even think about it. Who would continue to do business with a shopkeeper who looks at people and treats them differently? What kind of pill does this Taoist need? The female cultivator who received him was polite and courteous. Despite her young age, she had a cultivation level of 4 levels of qi cultivation and was a moderate-level cultivator in qi cultivation. It is even more difficult to treat Wei Ping'an as a lowly and destitute individual cultivator, without any superior aura. He truly deserves to be the largest elixir pavilion in the square city. And the shopkeeper here seems to be very knowledgeable about marketing. The store uses female nuns as receptionists and agrees to wear unique clothing to highlight the figures of each nun, making it pleasing to the eye at first glance. Do you accept Gu Yuan Dan here? Wei Ping'an came straight to the point without much courtesy. Accept, of course accept. According to the market price of 6 inferior spirit stones per piece, I dare say that this price is only affordable for our Danding pavilion in the local market, and it will never let the Taoist friends suffer. The waitress's enthusiasm remained unchanged, still giving a feeling of spring breeze. The demand for Gu Yuan Dan has always been high, and it is one of the auxiliary pills for lower-level cultivators to practice qi. Among various pill pavilions in the neighborhood, the selling price is around 4 to 5 inferior spirit stones per piece. Outside, we set up a stall and sell them separately. Basically, they only sell 5 inferior spirit stones, and of course, there are also 6 stones sold at a low price. Therefore, the price offered by this Dan Yao Gu is not low. Wei Ping'an naturally had no intention of going to the next store to inquire about the price. Instead, he sold a total of 10 bottles and 160 Gu Yuan Dan pills he brought today to the Dan Ding pavilion. Leaving the pill pavilion, Wei Ping'an's package contained a total of 27 inferior spirit stones. Holding the spirit stone, Wei Ping'an's heart pounded as he had never held so many spirit stones in his life. For him, it's simply a huge sum of money. But by the time he returned home, he had no more spirit stones on him. The reason is that he purchased 30 portions of materials for refining Gu Yuan Dan. I also bought 24 pounds of soda called Xiangyang Shanshui Tianling rice. This spent a lot of money on the spiritual stones he earned today, but in reality, there were still 2 inferior spiritual stones left. However, when passing by a jewelry stall, he bought a hairpin made of defective spiritual jade. After all, everything he has obtained now cannot be separated from the help of Lin Qian. With both emotion and reason, he should be better with the other party. I left in the morning and came back before noon. Pushing open the door, Lin Qian was preparing to cook, looking like a housewife. Seeing such a scene, Wei Ping'an couldn't help but feel a sense of peace in his heart. This is lingmi, I'll cook it today. Wei Ping'an put down the rice bag and added, I'll eat lingmi from now on. After listening to Wei Ping'an's words, Lin Qian was clearly a bit stunned. Originally, after being sent here, she found out that her husband seemed to be struggling in the local market. After all, the food she eats every day is ordinary brown rice, and meat is almost invisible, which is even more difficult than her ordinary life. When her husband went out this morning, she thought the other party would buy some brown rice. Unexpectedly, she brought back some lingmi and even said that she would eat lingmi every meal in the future. You should know that there aren't many cultivators in this city who can eat spiritual rice at once. Thinking of this, the smile on my face surprisingly increased a bit. At night, after dinner, Lin Qian's face turned slightly red, and she felt that the lingmi she had just eaten had turned into warm air currents, swirling around her body, feeling uncomfortable. This is the efficacy of lingmi, which contains a gentle spiritual energy that can be easily absorbed by the human body. If a cultivator has spiritual roots, they can easily refine this trace of spiritual energy. But ordinary people cannot be refined, but they also have some nourishing effects. This is for you. I saw it in Fengshe today and think it suits you very well. It seemed that something had come to mind, and Wei Ping'an took out the hairpin from his arms and handed it to Lin Qian. Lin Qian couldn't help but widen her eyes, unable to believe that she had even received a gift. For a moment, sweet affection rose from my heart. She couldn't help but hug Wei Ping'an, her hands wrapped around his sturdy body, and she breathed like a orchid. Husband, let's go to bed. Chapter 05. First Level Dan Master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hiss, please be gentle, don't pull my leg. Listening to Lin Qian's coquettish moan in his ear, Wei Ping'an felt his blood boil and his heart surge. Lin Qian's figure is actually very tall, although she is not a cultivator, she also comes from a common and wealthy family. I have been pampered since childhood, and my skin is as smooth and delicate as fine silk. Especially those legs, fair and tender, make people linger and forget to leave. Fortunately, a silent note has been posted now, otherwise it would have been heard by others in the courtyard, indicating that something might have happened. Although it was not the first time, the two of them still struggled until very late. The next day, the sun rises 3 poles. In the shantytown courtyard, Lin Qian stroked her sweat-soaked hair and tried to get up, but her hands and feet were soft and weak. She looked at the busy figure in the room, holding a hairpin that emitted a hint of warmth and coolness, and couldn't help but curl a slight curve at the corner of her mouth. I didn't expect her husband to be so considerate. Although the hairpin in his hand looked ordinary, it couldn't compare to the worst hairpin she had ever worn. But Lin Qian could also see that in terms of value, this hairpin may not be comparable to all the jewelry she once put together. It is said that cultivators are ungrateful and ruthless, never treating ordinary people as human beings. Women like them who are married to cultivators often don't have a good life. But she didn't expect her husband to be like this, which made her unable to resist feeling a little emotional. At this moment, Wei Ping'an sat on the chair, checking his attribute panel and information. Yu and Lin Qian harmonize yin and yang. Lin Qian's favorability towards the secular lord increases by 1, and the opponent drops. 32 points of alchemy experience, emotion increased by 1, but alchemy experience doubled. When practicing double cultivation, the drop in alchemy experience is always around 10 points, but this time it is 30.2 points, which is twice as much as usual. And the description also includes favorability, which is a new change. Thinking of this, Wei Ping'an's heart was moved, and a familiar light curtain appeared in front of him as the light and shadow changed. Name: Wei Ping'an, Spirit Root. Wood Golden Fire, Lower Grade 3 Spirit Roots, Realm. Practice Qi 3 Layers, 216/1000, Practice. Qingmu Changsheng Gong, Skill. Alchemy. Level 0, 495/500, Mastery Pill Recipe. Gu Yuan Dan, Shui Dan, Magic. None, Current Taoist Couple. One person, Lin Qian. Favorite rating 1, sure enough, the Taoist couple has developed a favorable impression here. Upon seeing the last line of the light curtain, Wei Ping'an couldn't help but feel a sense of enlightenment floating in his heart. As the relationship between the two parties increased, it would enhance the rewards obtained. Unfortunately, most of the experiences I gained from practicing with Lin Qian were based on alchemy, and I haven't been able to continue obtaining alchemy formulas or anything else. I don't know the reason behind this. I still haven't experienced enough and haven't figured out the patterns behind it. However, it doesn't matter. As long as it takes some more time, the two will definitely become more intimate and always be able to understand the function of this golden finger. However, the top priority is to elevate alchemy to level 1. Looking at the alchemy technique that only had 5 points of experience left to improve, Wei Ping'an couldn't help but walk towards Lin Qian on the bed. After another storm, Wei Ping'an arrived at the alchemy room. At this moment, his alchemy level has been elevated from 0 to 1. Unexpectedly, this has become a true alchemist. No, I'm still one step away from a true alchemist. I don't know how to refine any level 1 pills yet, and in fact, I can't be considered a true alchemist. Wei Ping'an took out the yellowed book, Basic Alchemy Guide, which he had purchased at the local market for 2 inferior spiritual stones. Later on, I heard that this Basic Alchemy Guide had almost become popular in the local market, and only 10 pounds of gold could buy one. Even if you randomly join some alchemy shops, you will receive a complimentary copy. At that time, I really fell for a big trick. However, although this alchemy guide is a mediocre book, it only contains some of the most basic alchemy techniques, and as for alchemy formulas, there are only 2. One is a 0-level blood-activating pill, which has the function of promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis, and treating some injuries caused by falls and injuries. Another is the first-level pill Qi and blood pill, which can replenish Qi and blood. These 2 elixirs are like chicken ribs. The cultivators refine spiritual energy into their bodies and often consume foods and elixirs filled with spiritual energy. Although their bodies have not undergone specialized physical training, they are full of Qi and blood, surpassing countless ordinary people. The blood-activating pill and Qi and blood pill, which have good effects on ordinary people, are not as effective as those for cultivators by more than 1 level, and have almost no practical use. The reason why it appears in this alchemy secret book is probably because these two alchemy formulas are made of simple materials and complement each other, making it easier for apprentice alchemists to get started. At this point, Wei Ping'an is preparing to refine qi and blood pills to verify whether he has truly been promoted to the first-level official alchemist. After all, although there are already many alchemy experiences and techniques in my mind, I have never truly refined a level 1 pill. At this moment, it's time to refine and test the hand. First, slow down the heat. Then add medicinal herbs. Grill over fire for an hour. Well, it's very simple, naturally smooth and effortless. However, it consumes a bit of spiritual power. Based on my current cultivation, I can only continuously refine 2 rounds of qi and blood pills at most. Wei Ping'an pondered slightly, feeling that he had extensive experience in alchemy, surpassing ordinary first-level alchemists. But if it were to refine some more difficult first-level pills, even he may not be able to sustain it. After all, his cultivation is a bit weak now. The first-level alchemist corresponds to a mid-level cultivation in qi cultivation. Of course, even though Wei Ping'an has been promoted to a first-level alchemist, the greatest benefit for him is being able to refine more solid elemental pills every day. After all, he doesn't have any other level 1 elixir right now. Time passes day by day, and in the blink of an eye, autumn has already begun. Xuanhuan city is located in the northwest of the Great Yu Kingdom, but just as autumn entered, the first snowfall had already fallen. The cold atmosphere immediately spread throughout the entire neighborhood. However, most of the people living here are cultivators, and even some ordinary people, under the means of cultivators, are not actually very afraid of the cold. At dawn every day, Wei Ping'an came out of the gentle countryside and walked out of his home to the neighborhood market. Just as I walked into the Danfang pavilion, the familiar voice of the female cultivator rang out. Wei Daoyu is here. For the past few months, Wei Ping'an has been coming to the Danfang pavilion every 10.5 days to sell pills. Although he sells them not much or less each time, the fixed frequency has made him a regular customer in the Danfang pavilion. A stable and skilled alchemist, even for the Danfang pavilion, must be recruited. Moreover, several senior alchemists in the Danfang pavilion have said that as long as this Wei Daoyu can make further breakthroughs in cultivation, he will definitely become a first-level alchemist. For Wei Ping'an, a stable sales channel also saved him a lot of trouble. Wei Ping'an nodded slightly and took out 10 small porcelain bottles from his arms, totaling 160 solid yuan pills. Zhang Daoyu, give me another 20 pieces of materials. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure if there is a first-level qi-absorbing pill for sale in your pavilion. Over the past few days, Wei Ping'an has accumulated more than 100 inferior spiritual stones by selling pills, which means his current value is more than 1 medium spiritual stone. And, for such a long time, he and Lin Qian have been practicing together, only obtaining a few zero-level elixirs, but not a single first-level elixir. I don't know if it's because Lin Qian is immortal and the rewards she receives have an upper limit. Could it be that Wei Daoyu has already advanced to the first-level alchemist? Congratulations. The receptionist surnamed Zhang was momentarily stunned. Although Wei Daoyu's cultivation had not broken through, since the other party wanted to purchase a level 1 elixir, perhaps they had already reached the threshold of breakthrough. As expected, she was the alchemist who was favored by the senior members of the cabinet. The female cultivator surnamed Zhang's heart twitched slightly and she immediately smiled faintly, saying, As for the alchemy of Na Qi Dan, there are naturally some available. As long as Taoist friends join this pavilion, they can obtain it for free. The Danfang pavilion has always spared no effort in attracting potential alchemists. Cultivators like Wei Ping'an who have the potential to break through the first-level alchemist are of utmost importance. Zhang Daoyu, I'm used to idle clouds and wild cranes, and I can't bear to be constrained. If it's for sale to the public, let me know the price. Wei Ping'an shook his head and refused the other party's proposal. He used to work in another pill shop before, getting up and down every day without freedom. Later, when something happened, he was directly abandoned. Although the Danding Pavilion gave him a better impression, he was afraid of being bitten by a snake for 10 years. People still have to live for themselves. Chapter 06. Massage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wei Dao Yu, if you only buy the Qi Dan formula, you will need 50 lower-grade spirit stones. The female cultivator surnamed Zhang smiled slightly, still maintaining the appropriate politeness, and did not change because Wei Ping'an was unwilling to join the Danding Pavilion. This is the Danding Pavilion, which has strong strength and extraordinary heritage. If it were to be replaced by the Dan medicine shop where I previously worked and refused to be recruited by the other party, I am afraid I would immediately turn my back. Because in the eyes of many pill shops, Sanxiu is like a dog, as long as you give him a little bone, it is a great gift. Well, I bought it. Wei Ping'an immediately took out another 40 lower-grade spirit stones from his pocket, along with the remaining spirit stones from purchasing alchemy herbs, which exactly gathered 50 lower-grade spirit stones. Sorry, the prices of longbeard ginseng and swallowtail grass have been increasing recently, so Wei Dao Yu just sold the spirit stone of the elixir, which is only enough to pay for the medicinal herbs, said the female cultivator surnamed Zhang with a polite smile. She then explained, the longbeard ginseng and swallowtail grass mainly grow in Changsheng Mountain, which is 300 miles away from Fengshe. Recently, King Yangzong discovered a gold and jade mine there. With the explanation from the female cultivator surnamed Zhang, Wei Ping'an's expression gradually calmed down. Gold and jade ore is the main material for refining middle and low-level magical tools, and it is difficult to buy 1,000 pieces of gold. If anyone has a gold and jade mine, it is equivalent to having an endless source of spiritual stone income. So, since Qingyang's sect has discovered the gold and jade mine, they will naturally block the entire mountain. In this way, it is difficult for scattered cultivators to enter Changsheng Mountain, and the production of long-bearded ginseng and swallowtail grass naturally drops, leading to an increase in the price of raw materials for medicinal materials. No, since the prices of raw materials have increased, then as a finished product, the price of Gu Yuan Dan should also increase. Thinking of this, Wei Ping'an immediately asked his own doubts. Wei Dao Yu is not aware that there is still a lot of stock of Gu Yuan Dan on the market, and the price of medicinal herbs has just begun to rise, so there won't be much change in price for a while, explained the female cultivator surnamed Zhang. Wei Ping'an nodded to show understanding. After all, having been influenced by a modern capitalist society, he had also come to his senses at this moment. The price of goods is actually mainly affected by supply and demand. The supply-demand balance of Gu Yuan Dan has not been broken, or in other words, the increase in raw materials cannot fundamentally affect the price changes of finished pills. So, in the short term, it is difficult for the price of Gu Yuan Dan to rise. But if you are willing to wait for a while, this kind of pill, and even most other pills, will have a favorable price trend. However, Wei Ping'an didn't want to wait anymore. He has a lot of pills in his hand, but only a small portion of them are sold. Besides, the discovery of a gold and jade mine in Changsheng Mountain may also be an opportunity for many scattered cultivators in the neighborhood. In this way, the tranquility of the neighborhood will soon be disrupted, and chaos is about to come. It can be imagined that the cultivation resources will increase at that time. So now, in reality, the most important thing for Wei Ping'an is to enhance his strength as much as possible. Therefore, there is no need to wait for the price of the Gu Yuan Dan to rise before selling it. He needs to purchase the prescription of the Na Qi Dan as soon as possible, then refine the pill and take it to improve his cultivation. After adding some inferior spirit stones and purchasing the elixir formula of the Na Qi Dan, Wei Ping'an also purchased some medicinal herbs and left the Danding Pavilion. He didn't wander around other places in the neighborhood anymore, but went straight back to the courtyard in the shantytown on the edge of the neighborhood. After getting home, Wei Ping'an and Lin Qian had a friendly relationship and couldn't wait to come to the alchemy room, ready to start refining the qi-absorbing pill. Sure enough, this qi-absorbing pill can assist low-level and mid-level cultivators in cultivating qi, with a complexity more than twice that of the qi and blood pill. Ordinary alchemists who have just broken through to level 1, even if they have elixirs, they may need to gradually become familiar with them, and even fail multiple times before they can successfully refine them. Wei Ping'an looked at the alchemy formula and combined it with his alchemy experience in his mind to repeatedly deduce the process of alchemy. He had an exceptionally rich alchemy experience in his mind, far exceeding that of ordinary alchemists of the same level, whether it was through the use of the golden finger to improve his alchemy level. In fact, the biggest difference between him and most first-level alchemists lies in his cultivation and the number of alchemy formulas he has mastered. After all, his alchemy level promotion is not at all in line with common sense. Therefore, he did not feel too difficult to refine the complex first-level elixir of the qi-absorbing pill, or rather, the only limitation he had was his low cultivation level, and his spiritual energy could only support one refining. So if you fail, you have to try again tomorrow. After having a clear idea, Wei Ping'an put down the elixir, immediately heated up the stove, prepared the medicinal herbs, and began refining the qi-absorbing pill for the first time. After 3 hours, Wei Ping'an slowly withdrew the seal, and the furnace had already extinguished its flames. The faint fragrance of the elixir permeated the air. It's done, refined with just one attempt. Wei Ping'an's face couldn't help but show joy. After all, even though he had confidence, he didn't expect to succeed at first. Now that I have succeeded, I am naturally delighted. However, after opening the furnace, Wei Ping'an found that only 10 pills had been made from this furnace of qi-absorbing pills, and the quantity was almost the lowest among all the pills he had refined so many times. Let me try the effect, and now the spiritual power in my body is almost drained. Twisting up a qi-absorbing pill with residual warmth, Wei Ping'an imported the pill. The pill melts at the entrance, and an abundant spiritual energy immediately spreads out along the veins in the body. The spiritual power that was almost exhausted due to alchemy was quickly replenished. Wei Ping'an immediately activated his martial arts and began to pull this spiritual energy to transport the heavens. After a long time, Wei Ping'an slowly regained his credit. The spiritual power inside the body has indeed increased by a few points. No wonder there is a need for dharma, earth, and wealth in cultivation. Now that I have just gained wealth and a couple, it has given me hope again on my previously almost cut-off path of cultivation. Wei Ping'an sighed and glanced at the attribute panel over and over again. Sure enough, his cultivation and mana had increased. He only took one qi-absorbing pill, which increased his cultivation by 10 points. Realm. Practice qi 3 layers, 358/1000. I feel that with the current situation, I should be able to take 5 qi-boosting pills every day. If the medicinal properties do not decrease, in less than a month, my cultivation can break through to the 4th level of qi cultivation. After silently calculating in his heart, Wei Ping'an couldn't help but get excited. The breakthrough in cultivation, although only from the 3rd level of qi cultivation to the 4th level of qi cultivation, has extraordinary significance. One is the low-level cultivation of qi, the lowest level of the cultivation world, only suitable for living in the shantytowns at the edge of the neighborhood. One is the intermediate level of qi cultivation, which can be considered as an entry-level cultivation. It is not a big deal in the entire cultivation world, but it can also be considered decent in this peripheral area of the market. At least qualified and capable, one can move closer to the neighborhood, live in spacious brick and stone courtyards, and enjoy the subtle spiritual radiation of the community center's spiritual gathering array. So, the time for the next few days needs to be adjusted. Keep the double cultivation unchanged twice, then reduce the alchemy time and increase the cultivation time. Wei Ping'an immediately set a routine for the next period of time. At night, husband, I've been busy refining pills these days, and I haven't been able to do anything for you. Take off your shirt and I'll give you a press. These days, Lin Qian has seen Wei Ping'an busy with alchemy and cultivation every day, with tight schedules. And the life at home is constantly improving, with spiritual rice, monster meat, and all kinds of spiritual materials that cultivators can eat. Even if she didn't practice, Lin Qian felt her body becoming stronger and stronger. Moved in my heart, I wanted to do more for Wei Ping'an. Well, you can give it a try. The massage is quite novel, and Wei Ping'an is naturally willing to give it a try. The next second, Wei Ping'an felt 10 thin and soft fingers pressing against his spine. A few slightly cold fingers caressed and pressed around the acupoints on her spine. Although the technique was a bit harsh, it was obvious that Lin Qian was massaging with care. When pressing, Wei Ping'an could feel comfortable all over her body, and even her spiritual power became more lively. However, after just pressing for a while, Wei Ping'an felt a bit tired of his body. At this moment, Lin Qianro spoke softly. "Husband, can I help you step on the dragon? Your body is too hard, and using your hands alone is too inefficient." Wei Ping'an said, "Okay, just give it a try." Chapter 07. Spirit Explosion Pill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Over time, the relationship between Wei Ping'an and Lin Qian has become increasingly intimate without realizing it. Although Wei Ping, as a cultivator, did not feel any physical fatigue, he still gladly accepted Lin Qian's massage. And earlier, Lin Qian also massaged his shoulders. Stepping on his back was his first attempt. The two of them are old husbands and wives, so there are no taboos. Lin Qian touched Wei Ping'an's back, followed her memory to identify the location of acupoints and meridians, and applied essential oil on them. Then he took off his shoes and socks, revealing his tender white feet, and stepped directly on them. Lin Qian looked at her full figure with a concave front and convex back, but her actual weight was not large, just about 100 pounds, just right. The delicate feet immediately knead, twist, press, lift on the flat and broad spine, and perform various massage movements skillfully. The efficacy of the essential oil penetrates into the acupoints and tendons with the pressure. Wei Ping'an felt a soft and icy sensation emanating from his spine, causing his body to relax and his bones and meridians to relax. At the same time, this refreshing and soothing feeling permeates along the muscles and veins of the spine to the chest, then to the 5 organs and then to the limbs. At this moment, Wei Ping'an felt his whole body cool and comfortable, as if soaring through clouds and mist, entering a feeling of drunkenness. Lin Qian stepped on Wei Ping'an's back, sweating profusely from exhaustion. She knelt beside Wei Ping and gasped for breath, asking, "Husband, how do you feel?" "Comfortable. Very comfortable." Wei Ping'an was confused and had not yet regained consciousness. Lin Qian smiled gently and lightly patted Wei Ping'an's back, finishing her work. But at this moment, Wei Ping'an, a starving tiger, pressed the gentle woman kneeling beside him. The next day, inside the room, Wei Ping'an got up early in the morning. Although he had expended a lot of energy last night, as a cultivator who had been sleeping for several days, he was still full of energy, let alone practicing with ordinary women. At this moment, he pretended to meditate, but in reality, he was checking his attributes. Ding, and Lin Qian's yin and yang complement each other. The opponent's first-level elixir, Spirit Explosion Pill. Looking at the prompt on the panel, Wei Ping'an frowned slightly. First-level elixir. Spirit Explosion Pill. What kind of prescription is this? Why haven't you heard of it? And how does this sound? Doesn't it feel like a proper prescription? Thinking of this, as he was about to receive this elixir, a familiar flow of information flowed through his mind. Is that so? The person who invented this pill is simply a genius. The Spirit Explosion Pill is not a pill for humans to eat, but a means of attack. From the description of its power, it seems to be equivalent to the appearance of a cultivator from the 5th level of qi refining exerting a full blow. Wei Ping'an's eyebrows gradually relaxed, and the most important type of pill was only a first-level pill, and the difficulty of refining it was not high. With Wei Ping'an's current experience in refining medicine, he is fully capable of refining it. This is really a very good attack method for Dan Shi, who lacks attack methods. And with the appearance of the pill, it also has a certain confusing effect. At least as far as Wei Ping'an knows, he has never heard of this kind of pill that can be used as a firecracker. Even though this Ling Bao Dan is refined from various medicinal herbs, it may not be called a pill. However, no matter what, it gave him a trump card. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look at Lin Qian beside him, with a soft expression in his eyes. His Taoist priest may have some background. Thinking of this woman's exquisite massage technique, it is obvious that there is also a heritage. Although it is not a cultivation method, it can also promote qi and blood, and stretch muscles and bones. It seems that as the matchmaker said, this woman has a decent background in the mortal world, but for some unknown reason she drifted here. Wei Ping'an pondered in his heart, but he had no intention of asking. Although Lin Qian devoted herself to him, he could also see that this woman was firm and free to make her own decisions. If you want to tell him, you will always say it. Moreover, now that Wei Ping'an wants to continue practicing the Great Way, even if Lin Qian said so, he may not be able to help. First refine this spirit explosion pill and see its power before proceeding. As soon as he thought of it, Wei Ping'an instructed Lin Qian to go out and purchase some meat and vegetables, and then went to the alchemy room. This time, he extravagantly used talismans and even bestowed a talisman upon himself, which can be said to be a double insurance. Then the door was closed, reinforced, and protected before alchemy began. Start the stove and start the fire, then sequentially place a variety of medicinal herbs into the pot. Although the steps were very familiar, this time Wei Ping'an felt very nervous, even with some sweat stains on his forehead. After all, this is a pill that can explode. Its power is as powerful as that of a cultivator in the middle level of qi cultivation. For Wei Ping'an now, it can be considered as extremely powerful. Although there are several layers of protection that theoretically can block a strike from a mid-level cultivator practicing qi, one must also be cautious and not be careless at all. Until the last time the pill was released, he was always cautious. But fortunately, there were no accidents, and he once again succeeded in refining. After all, this elixir was directly bestowed by the Golden Finger, and the various experiences in refining this elixir are very rich. This is the Spirit Explosion Pill, which can unleash the full power of a mid-level cultivator in qi cultivation. Wei Ping'an took out a red pill with remaining warmth and murmured to himself. This time, a total of 5 pills were completed. Perhaps due to the special nature of the Spirit Explosion Pill, the number of completed pills is much less than the other 2 pills. Let's give it a try now and see if this pill is really as powerful as described. Wei Ping'an immediately sealed the 5 pills into 5 porcelain bottles using special techniques, and then sorted them out before leaving the door. Following the memory, walking outside the neighborhood, as soon as I left the shantytown, everything around me became desolate. The undulating green mountains in the distance entwine like dragons and snakes towards the horizon. The winding path under my feet extended into the dense forest, and there were traces of fire everywhere around the road. This was the method used by the local government to prevent the invasion of weeds and trees. After all, this is a world of cultivation, with abundant spiritual energy, exceptionally abundant vegetation, and extremely strong vitality. If left untreated, the entire neighborhood will soon be submerged. Further down a distance, animal bones were already visible everywhere, and there was a faint roar from the beasts. Even Wei Ping'an saw a piece of human skull. Obviously, this is already a disorderly and chaotic place, with danger looming everywhere. Wei Ping'an couldn't help but beat his drums nervously in his heart, but when he thought of the 5 pills and talismans in his arms, his courage couldn't help but increase. But at that moment, a sharp and strange cry came from the bushes beside me. Then a black shadow suddenly rushed out and rushed towards him. The next moment, a red pill shot out and hit the black figure directly. At the next moment, there was a loud explosion. The sound of spiritual energy gathering and exploding sounded like a small grenade, but without flames and smoke. The explosion was caused by pure spiritual energy agitation. The tremendous power immediately erupted, and the black figure in mid-air was immediately hit hard, causing its massive body to split into pieces. Hoo! Wei Ping'an's nerves were tense until a sharp claw fell to his feet, and he finally breathed a sigh of relief. This is Feiyan leopard, a lower-grade monster that excels in speed. Its sharp claws are harder than gold and iron, making it difficult for ordinary cultivators who practice 1 or 2 layers of qi to match. Just a spirit explosive pill, it actually shattered this beast, and indeed possesses the attack power of a mid-level cultivator in qi cultivation. Wei Ping'an quickly recognized the type of attacking monster and secretly estimated the power of the spirit explosion pill, but in the next moment, his heart felt a bit sore. Feiyan leopard has been shattered by the explosion, so it can be said that it has no value for recycling. Unfortunately, it's really a pity that a few inferior spirit stones are gone like this. However, the power of the spirit explosion pill was also tested, so there was no need to linger. Wei Ping'an immediately followed the original path back to the market. Chapter 08. Conflict. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yo, isn't that Lin Qian? It said that you've been with a bumpkin alchemist. Why buy some vegetables? You haven't eaten lingmi yet, have you? Also, a useless alchemy apprentice might have to rely on you to sell your appearance to make a living. Just as he walked near the courtyard, Wei Ping'an heard a piercing sound. He looked up and saw his own Lin Qian carrying a basket full of vegetables, stuck on the street corner. Wei Ping'an's eyes narrowed slightly. The person who was blocking his own Lin Qian was also a cultivator, with white beard and hair, but a red light on his face. He was actually an acquaintance. He was a colleague who used to work at the Dan pharmacy in Fengshe, and I remember his name was Chindapan. I remember when he was driven away, this person's cultivation was on par with him. I didn't expect to see him again in just 1 or 2 months, and he actually reached the 4th level of qi refining. Although he is only a beginner in the 4th level of qi cultivation, he is also a genuine mid-level cultivator in qi cultivation. If it were a legitimate occasion, Wei Ping'an would not hesitate to call him a senior. However, this person has an unstable breath, a flushed face, and an overly alcoholic appearance, which is somewhat strange. What's your future with that useless person? Why don't you follow me instead? Chindapan said confidently as the old god was around. He is currently a cultivation level of 4 levels of qi cultivation. He is a moderate level cultivator of qi cultivation, and I believe that as long as the woman in front of him is not foolish, he will know how to choose. No, I can't leave my husband. Please let me go quickly, otherwise I will go to the court. Lin Qian's momentum weakened at first, but then she spoke firmly. Although the laws and regulations in the neighborhood are loose, ordinary people have a lower status, especially in the neighborhood. But Lin Qian now also belongs to a cultivator, and if it were really reported to the local market, Chindapan would not be better off. But in reality, if Chindapan really takes action against Lin Qian, as long as his hands and feet are cleaned up or there is no victim, the local market managers usually won't take care of it. A cultivator with advanced cultivation and reach the level of gas refining, as long as they do not engage in violence in the central area of the neighborhood or even in shantytowns or peripheral areas, no one will take care of them. After all, in the realm of cultivation, strength and cultivation are everything. So, after being rejected, Chindapan didn't get too angry. He decided to directly take this woman back and simply make up for it, letting her know the cost of rejecting him. Qin Daoyu, what is this for? Just as Chindapan was about to use force, Wei Ping'an smiled and walked between the two, blocking Lin Qian's body. It turned out to be Wei Ping'an. You look good. It seems that after being kicked out of the store, you have been living a really good life. Coincidentally, you, the main leader, have come. Your woman has offended me. Now, give you 3 days. Either deliver this woman to my house or compensate me with 50 yuan of inferior spirit stones. If you dare not comply, he. Chen Depan looked at Wei Ping'an with grey eyebrows and mocking eyes, while releasing his cultivation momentum and pressing towards him. He is now using his cultivation to oppress Wei Ping'an and let this guy experience the dangers of the cultivation world. Speaking of which, there is actually no deep hatred between the two, and the most direct relationship is that they used to work for the same pharmacy. Nowadays, one person is still in the pill shop and is about to become the true alchemist, while the other person has been kicked out of the pill shop and is now living a miserable life as a scattered cultivator. Faced with the opponent's magical pressure, Wei Ping'an's face turned ugly, but he was not afraid. Does this person feel that they have broken through in the West Room, and perhaps there are some reasons for Lin Qian, so they are coming to deal with themselves? But now Wei Ping'an still has 4 spirit explosive pills in his arms. If he throws them at Chen Depan now, he may easily kill him. He lowered his head and endured. After all, it's still daylight now. If he kills this person, it will expose the means. At that time, he will not be able to hold on to the spirit explosion pill, and he will definitely offer this pill. And it may also attract covetousness and expose more secrets. So, now is not the time to take action. Chen, we don't welcome you here. Hurry up and get out of here. At that moment, a coquettish voice rang out. Then, dressed in a green long dress and graceful, the young female Xiu walked from a distance with a graceful figure. It was the female Xiu surnamed Zhang who lived in the same courtyard as the Wei Ping. Humph, it's you, I've taken note of it this time. Chen Depan saw the incoming person clearly, snorted coldly, and gave them a stern and insincere glare before angrily leaving. Thank you Zhang Daoyu for helping out. Wei Ping'an immediately took Lin Qian and thanked the nun surnamed Zhang. No matter how harsh the other person's words may be on a daily basis, being able to stand up during such times is commendable among casual cultivators. After all, this offended a fellow cultivator, and the survival principle of casual cultivation has always been to avoid unnecessary conflicts. The action taken by the female cultivator surnamed Zhang may seem like just one sentence, but she may also face the hatred of Chen Depan and may face retaliation from the other party. Humph, who wants you to thank? I just don't like that guy. The female cultivator surnamed Zhang also snorted coldly, ignoring Wei Ping'an's concerns. She then continued. I still don't pay attention to a useless person who has been promoted through the secret method of picking and repairing. After speaking, he ignored Wei Ping'an and turned around and left. When the other party left, Wei Ping'an took Lin Qian's hand, comforted them a few words, and then took Lin Qian home. Day by day, Chen Depan never appeared again, as if this conflict had completely passed. During this period, Wei Ping'an's life gradually returned to normal. I still practice with Lin Qian every day, gaining alchemy experience and mana cultivation. In addition, by taking pills and practicing diligently, one's cultivation level has rapidly improved. At this moment, his cultivation level 3 layers of Qi cultivation, 879/1000, is only over 100 points away from the 4 layers of Qi cultivation. However, although Wei Ping'an's life was peaceful, the entire neighborhood gradually became turbulent. With the development of Changyang Mountain, the neighborhood has indeed attracted a group of scattered cultivators, which has also added a layer of gloom to the originally peaceful neighborhood. The new cultivators and the original cultivators in the neighborhood compete for opportunities and resources. The conflict has occurred several times, and it is said that many scattered cultivators have lost their lives. Even in the shantytowns outside the neighborhood, several malignant incidents have occurred. With the turbulence in the city, Wei Ping'an also felt urgent and wanted to quickly upgrade his cultivation and move to an area near the center of the city. Husband, breakfast is ready, but there's almost no rice left at home. Early in the morning, Lin Qian, who had prepared breakfast, arrived at the alchemy room. Well, I got it. I'll go out and buy some later. Wei Ping'an walked out of the alchemy room, had breakfast, and instructed Lin Qian to go to the home of the female cultivator surnamed Zhang when he was out. Since the last incident, Wei Ping'an has specially thanked the other party by giving them a few bottles of gas-absorbing pills, and their relationship has gradually become familiar. Every time Wei Ping'an goes out, she will ask Lin Qian to take refuge at the home of the female cultivator surnamed Zhang. Chapter 09. Killing Machine. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xuanhuan Shanfang City. Just arrived at Fangshi, Wei Ping'an found that there are a lot of people today. Even many cultivators who control flying magic tools flew from the east. The flow of people in the entire neighborhood has greatly increased, like a rural market, with endless cries and bustling sounds. Wei Ping'an arrived at the Danfang pavilion, and as soon as he entered, he saw the familiar figure. However, today, the nun surnamed Zhang seemed to have specially dressed up, which was very different from her usual simple attire. The female Xiu wore a light and elegant water blue long skirt, with a jade hairpin radiating spiritual waves inserted into her hair bun. She wore a light pink and daisy makeup, and her face was radiant. It combines the white and tender skin of young women with the charm of mature women, embodying the elegance of outsiders in the mortal world. Wei Ping'an couldn't help but take a second glance and immediately began his business, selling pills. Sure enough, today's acquisition price has increased. 1 lower-grade spirit stone and 5 solid element pills sold a total of 7 lower-grade spirit stones. As usual, purchase some medicinal herbs and curiously ask the female cultivator surnamed Zhang who receives them. Zhang Daoyu, why are there so many people in the neighborhood today? Oh, Wei Daoyu is not aware of it. It's not yet the development of Changsheng Mountain. The Qingyang clan lacks manpower and recruits scattered cultivators in the local market, earning a monthly income of 20 inferior spiritual stones, which naturally attracts a large number of people. The female cultivator surnamed Zhang explained with a sweet smile. Oh, I see. Wei Ping'an responded. At this moment, a group of cultivators in uniform blue Taoist robes came from outside the Danfang pavilion, not knowing which sect they were from. These people are extremely arrogant, or rather have a fierce aura. The scattered cultivators on the road are avoiding each other, and even some who set up stalls on both sides of the road are scattered without time to clean up. The movement on the street immediately caught Wei Ping'an's attention, and he couldn't help but look over. Those are the people of Qingyang sect, explained the female cultivator surnamed Zhang in a timely manner. The leader is the old man in black, who is Zheng Sanxiong, the foreign affairs officer of Qingyang sect. This time, this person is the leader of the recruitment of workers in the local market. This person is a cultivator who cultivates 9 levels of qi. This time, she came to accumulate enough merit in Changsheng Mountain to build a foundation. I didn't expect Zhang Daoyu to be so knowledgeable, disrespectful. Wei Ping'an was slightly taken aback and immediately arched his hand at the woman surnamed Zhang. I'm afraid this woman's background is not that of a small servant in the Danfang pavilion. After all, whether it's her cultivation, age, or even knowledge, she doesn't seem to be what a small servant should have. Especially when this woman mentioned Zheng Sanxiong, her words not only showed no respect, but also a faint contempt, indicating that her background is not simple. Oh, by the way, have you broken through to level 1 alchemist? At this moment, the female cultivator surnamed Zhang moved her nose slightly and glanced at Wei Ping'an. But immediately, before Wei Ping could reply, she continued, people are already in their 40s, with low talent and bones. They are still practicing the incomplete techniques of the Rotten Street. In a few years, it is impossible to break through the intermediate level of qi cultivation. Without reaching the intermediate level of qi cultivation, it is natural that they cannot refine the spirit pill. What does it mean to be over 40? What is a low natural talent? What kind of bad street cultivation technique? It's clearly a cultivation technique that I bought after accumulating spiritual stones for several years. Besides, I am only 40 years old this year, and in my previous life, I was in my prime of youth, which was the golden age to unleash my passion. Speaking of the man's 40.1 flowers, isn't that what he's talking about? Wei Ping'an was inexplicably displeased and decided to leave the Danfang pavilion under an excuse. After leaving, Wei Ping'an took another turn in the market area. He found that as the flow of people in the neighborhood increased, the prices of various items rose one after another. Especially for medicinal herbs and elixirs, they have also increased slightly. The prices of several scattered cultivators and Gu Yuan pills at market stalls have reached the level of 4 inferior spirit stones per piece, which can catch up with the normal selling prices of elixirs in the local market. Seeing this, I touched the spirit explosive pill in my arms again. Wei Ping'an's courage grew stronger, so he decided to go home and take out 20 bottles of Gu Yuan Dan from his home. Then he changed into a grey robe that he didn't often wear, put on a bamboo hat, and put on makeup before arriving at the local market. How do you sell this Gu Yuan Dan? Just as the stall was set up, a casual repairman came to inquire. Wei Ping'an said in a hoarse voice, a piece of inferior spirit stone is worth 4, not 2. Give me 20. Wei Ping'an immediately received the spirit stone and handed the other 2 bottles of pills. Because the flow of people was several times higher than usual, I didn't expect the business of setting up a stall for the first time to be good, and the pills I brought were sold out in less than an hour. I sold a total of 80 lower-grade spirit stones, which is an extra 16 yuan from selling them to Danfang Pavilion. Wei Ping'an touched the heavy cuffs of his wallet, feeling a bit light and ethereal, and his whole body and mind were filled with infinite joy. With the lincture, Wei Ping'an was not in a hurry to go home. Instead, he prepared to buy a meal of wine and vegetables at Qingfu building in the local market and bring them back to celebrate with Lin Qian. On the bustling streets of Changsheng Fangshi, the largest restaurant, Qingfu Tower, attracts a constant stream of guests. In the corner by the window, Chen Depan, with grey hair, was embracing 2 ordinary women and enjoying this plate of roasted goose. Chen Daoyu, guess who I saw in the neighborhood just now? At this moment, a slightly soft voice sounded, and then a middle-aged man in light blue clothes sat opposite Chen Depan. Wei Daoyu, who did you see? The little ladies of the Li family. Chen Depan asked. He, you wouldn't have thought of it. I just saw Wei Ping'an. Although he changed his clothes and appearance, he couldn't hide it from my nose, Wei Yuan said with great pride. Apart from having spiritual roots, there are also very few cultivators who possess special constitutions. It can be beneficial for cultivation, friendly to certain elements, or able to enhance combat power, with a variety of wonders. This person naturally does not have that kind of strong and domineering physique, but his natural nose surpasses that of ordinary people, and he can smell many odors. Therefore, he is also nicknamed Dog Nose by people. In addition, he also worked with Wei Ping'an for a period of time, so he remembers the scent of Wei Ping'an. Oh, it's just a dilapidated household. I saw it as soon as I saw it. There's nothing to be alarmed about, Chen Depan said nonchalantly. You're wrong about that. The dilapidated household you're talking about has earned dozens of spiritual stones in the local market today. Immediately, Wei Yuan told Chen Depan about what he saw in the market area. Gradually, as Wei Yuan spoke, Chen Depan felt that the roasted goose in front of him was no longer fragrant, and the woman in his arms was no longer soft and greasy. Chen Depan hardly thought, and his deep and murderous voice came out. This piece cannot be left. Chapter 10. Assault. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Being able to refine the Gu Yuan Dan, it seems that Wei Ping'an had another adventure after being driven out of the store. Huaibi blames him, but his weak cultivation is his fault. Later, you can find an excuse to invite him out to the outside of the neighborhood, and we will share the benefits equally with him. Chen Depan said with a hint of sadness. That's right. When I'm done with Wei Ping'an, I heard that the little lady you had a crush on before is with him. You can let me go first then. Wei Yuan's face turned rosy, and his triangular eyes showed fluorescence. "Okay, as long as this is done, it's just a woman and I'll give it to you," Chindapan said magnanimously. Immediately, the two of them ordered a few more chives and even extravagantly ordered a pot of spirit wine. As they toasted and toasted, their faces and ears quickly turned red. Perhaps the two of them drank too much, or perhaps they were not too cautious at all. But I didn't know at this moment. Outside the window at the corner of the restaurant, Wei Ping'an's face darkened and he quietly left. "Why force me? I just want to live a peaceful life and cultivate my qi by getting married. On weekdays, I stay at home without leaving the main gate or leaving the other gate. I'm trying to provoke anyone. Why do you have to take action on me?" Turning the street corner, Wei Ping'an's face turned black like the bottom of a pot. He was already careful enough, but he didn't expect to provoke hostility. And last time Chindapan came to cause trouble, he was already preparing to find an opportunity to kill this person, but he didn't expect to find an opportunity yet. Chindapan is actually unknowingly trying to deal with him. This person is really bad. Why didn't they see it in the store before? But since you two want to deal with me, then I won't hesitate. Wei Ping'an didn't rush back immediately, but went to the Gu Yuan talisman store in Fengshe and purchased 5 first-level talismans, 5 first-level light body talismans, and 2 first-level thunder and fire talismans. There aren't many talismans, but I only bought 12 and spent 47 yuan on lower-grade spirit stones. Talisman is truly a lucrative industry, earning much more than his first-level alchemist. The battles of low-level cultivators in qi refining mainly rely on spiritual talismans and spells. I prepared in advance and added the spirit explosion pill, so that I can calculate with my heart but not with my heart. Let's take down Wei Yuan first. Wei Ping'an left the talisman shop, pondering for a moment, and then prepared to take advantage of the situation. Firstly, I will take Wei Yuan for an attack. This person's cultivation is not as good as him, and there is a high chance that he will be taken away in one wave. Then dealing with Chindapan would be more confident. After all, if this person were truly confident, they would not have teamed up with Wei Yuan. This guy's cultivation in the 4 layers of qi refining seems to have a great deal of moisture. After getting ready, Wei Ping'an immediately went to the restaurant again. After purchasing good food and drinks in the lobby of the restaurant, he deliberately stayed for a while, and when he left, he walked not far from Chindapan and the two of them. I actually bought 6 dishes, and even 2 bottles of spirit wine. Wei Ping'an really made a fortune. Sure enough, Wei Ping'an's seemingly unintentional actions successfully caught the attention of Chindapan and the others. It seems like this is a godsend opportunity. I'll go find him later, you go to the old place and wait for me first. Looking at Wei Ping'an's back, Wei Yuan chuckled and followed him. On a small road leading to a shantytown courtyard outside the neighborhood. Pedestrians gradually became scarce, and a lush tree guard Yuan hunched his waist, carrying his hands behind his back. He estimated Wei Ping'an's speed in his heart and silently counted 10 times. Sure enough, at this moment, he smelled a familiar smell. This guy has finally arrived. Wei Yuan felt certain in his heart and immediately walked out of his hiding place. At this moment, he met Wei Ping'an who had turned the street corner. "Ah, isn't this Wei Daoyu? I just went to your house to find you but couldn't find it. I didn't expect to meet you here, and I was about to go find you." Wei Yuan looked pleasantly surprised with an accidental encounter. "Friend Wei Yuan, I don't know why you're looking for me." Wei Ping'an pretended not to know and asked in his usual tone. I'm here to find you. There's something I want to tell you about your injury. It may seem unexpected, but there's actually something behind it. Speaking of which, there happened to be a few scattered cultivators walking towards me. Wei Yuan's eyes flickered and he secretly said, "Heaven help me." The conversation immediately changed. "Wei Daoyu, this is not a place to talk. If you want to find a secluded place, I will explain it in detail." About a quarter of an hour later, Wei Ping'an followed Wei Yuan to a deserted alley near the shantytown courtyard. Let's talk about it here. Wei Ping'an stood still with a hesitant expression. Hee, it's okay, it's quiet here and won't let outsiders listen. Wei Yuan smiled slightly, but didn't insist. Anyway, this place is not far from where Chindapan is hiding, and he will definitely be able to detect it by then. And no one comes here on weekdays, even at the entrance of the alley, as long as the hands and feet are agile, it doesn't matter. Killing a destitute low-level Qi practitioner is nothing at all. Are we really not being heard here? Will we not be discovered? Wei Ping'an lowered his head and asked. Of course not, even if we kill someone here, as long as we throw the body into the ditch over there and keep it safe for 10.5 days without being discovered, Wei Yuan joked and his face gradually turned grim. If no one can detect killing someone, that would be really great. Wei Ping'an's voice also became chilly. Oh, by the way, where is Chindapan hiding? He's hiding in the innermost courtyard of the alley. What? Wei Yuan instinctively answered, but he quickly regained his senses. But at this very moment. Woo! Shit! Thunderbolt exploded. Immediately after, blood splattered and Wei Yuan's eyes widened, his head blackened, and he fell to the ground in one fell swoop. You! Wei Yuan looked at Wei Ping'an in horror. I never imagined that the kind-hearted Wei Ping'an would suddenly strike him with such an assassin, and the other party even used the Thunder Fire Talisman. At this moment, he was severely injured, his head was in severe pain, and the fireworks and thunder were still eroding his body, making it impossible for him to resist. Even one's own trump card cannot be used. However, before he could finish speaking, Wei Ping'an did not give him another chance. With a magical wind blade, he directly cut open Wei Yuan's throat and beheaded him. After finishing everything, Wei Ping'an threw Wei Yuan's body into a ditch on the side. Since he knew that Chindapan must be hiding inside, and that Wei Yuan had died fast enough just now, Chindapan must have not realized what was happening here, which caught him off guard. It was decided in his heart that Wei Ping'an immediately walked into the alley just now.